Good morning, everyone, and welcome back in our class on Readings in Philippine History. And for today's module, we will be talking about Philippines, the Filipino values, and the people. So, what are we going to learn for this module? So, we will discuss and explain the positive and negative Filipino values. Second, we will describe the physical characteristic of Atas, Indonesians, and Malays, which is known or believed to be the first people who entered our archipelago or our country. And lastly, we will discuss economic activities of Atas, Indonesians, and Malays, as well as we will know how does the formation of barangay started, and as well as we will talk about the growth of Muslim sultanates in our country. So we will begin. First, we will talk about the Filipino values. So values are integral part of every culture. With worldview and personality, they generate behavior, and being part of a culture that shares a common core set of values creates expectations and predictability without which a culture would disintegrate and its members would lose their personal identity and sense of worth. Also, values tell people what is good, beneficial, important, useful, beautiful, desirable, constructive, and more. So they answer the questions of why people do what they do. And also, values help people solve common problems for survival. Over time, they become the roots of traditions that groups of people find important in their day to day lives. Also, Filipino values may be attributed from many influences. They could be influenced by its ancestors or by its colonizers, and some values are bipolar, meaning it can be positive or negative. So, we all know that as Filipino has its own values, which is very unique as to other um, nation or as to other races around the world. And as stated earlier, there are also values that were very positive and that other nations or races around the world praise Filipino for it. And there are also negative setbacks, which somehow us Filipino or the values of this Filipino as it makes our values flop. Okay, we'll start. So there are many Filipino values, and we have enlisted at least 14 positive Filipino values. So first, we will talk about the bayanihan system or spirit of kinship and camaraderie. So a Filipino community spirit and cooperation wherein a group of individuals extend a helping hand without expecting any remuneration. It is characterized by communal work towards one goal exemplified in carrying a nipa house or pushing a passenger jeepney. So we are so familiar with this bayanihan system. Um, Before, I witnessed this one when I was in our village or in our barangay before, when one of our neighbor um, transfer her Nipa house in other site. So I really witnessed how these things turn out. And also, as Filipino, we help people without asking or without asking for something to be given back to us or or as stated any remuneration. So that's what a positive values or things that makes us very great as a Filipino. Also, we have the Damayan system. So, a sympathy for people who lost their loved ones. In case of death of a certain member of the community, the whole community sympathizes with the bereaved family. We have the neighbors, friends, and relatives of the deceased usually give certain amount of money as their way of showing sympathy. Yes, this happens also to us, and also not only by giving money, but somehow we, even though we are just neighbors, we somehow help our neighbor when it comes to when there's deaf loved ones. So we help them serve, for example. every night when there will be a prayer for the dead. So we help them serve snacks for people around that um, specific thing. So now we have also familism or close family relations. So a Filipino trait of giving highest importance to the family above other things. So a trait wherein family members should be taken care and supported regardless of whether he or she did something wrong. A family member must be given attention and should not be abandoned. This is also one of the good things about us Filipino. Even though that family member did something wrong about us, but we still think of it as our family member and that thing cannot be taken from us. No matter what happened, we have this value that family is more important. Then next, we also have the fun-loving trait. So a trait found in most Filipinos that makes them unique that even in times of calamities and other challenges in life, they always have something to be happy about and a reason to celebrate. So this is so very true because of what happened to us wherein Typhoon Raleigh just hit us this month wherein we can see that even though our neighboring islands in northern part of our country um, were experiencing this calamity, they still have their positivity. They still smile even though their house is lost. Even though some of their part or some of their equipments were being destroyed by the calamity, but we have still this positivity inside our mind that no matter what happened, life happens and we should not be contained or confined to be sad because being sad all the time is not okay and it's just a waste of time. So that's the Filipino trait or values that we have that makes us one of the most positive people around the world. So next we also have this Filipino values, which is the hospitality. So a Filipino trait of being receptive and generous to guests. So this happens as well. So this values talks about like even though that person is a stranger to us and in need of help, even though we don't know them, then we have this helping hand or lending hand to them that no matter we are not related to this person or we just met them for the first time, we have this like common guts that they need help and no matter who they need help. No matter what race they are, they need help and we have that values because it's not something about we have something to give to that person, but because we feel that before that it's like we doesn't give because we have, we give because we experience having nothing, just like that, that even though we are so poor, even though we have this problem about our food, we have problem of having this financial in financial or in our finances, if we met a person who need finances or money or food, even though we don't have, we still give to them, and that's what makes our values or traits very good and other races praise us so much. Also, we have these values which are being very compassionate. So, Filipino trait of being sympathetic to others, even if the person is a stranger. An example of this is giving alms to the beggar. So, this is um, related to what I said earlier that even though they are strangers, we give to them, that even though we don't have any relations with them. Because, like I said earlier, even though they are different from us, or even though we don't know them, sometimes people will surprise us. So I believe in that. Next is we have this regionalism. So it is a Filipino trait of giving more priority or preference in giving favors to his province may before others. So it's like we give more to our, let's say, to our home before giving favors to others. So it's something like which is very good because sometimes it's not selfishness. It's just we just our home or where we located just need more help than the others. So it's a selfishness, it's just regionalism, it's just a Filipino positive values. Next is we have being friendly or friendliness, a trait found in most Filipinos. They are sincere, loyal, kind, and sociable people. Yes, maybe yes for others, maybe not yes for others, but even though we are having this attitude where we are being introvert, but if we are being socialized for others, we still have this attitude or values that yes, we need to mingle with them, yes, we need to talk with them, yes, we have to interact with them. That somehow is one of the values of being Filipino. Next is we are flexible or magaling makibagay. So the ability of Filipinos to ride on or adjust to the norms of other groups just to attain smooth and harmonious relationships. So this is very true to our Filipino OFW or overseas Filipino worker because we go abroad or we go out of our country just to have our family left on the country, and one of the things that makes us easily to adjust is just because one of our value is being flexible, and we are magaling makibagay to other people around us, and that's what makes one of the positive Filipino values. Next is we are religious as well. Of course, most Filipinos possess strong conformance of their religious belief both in words and deeds. So it is known to be Filipinos are one of the most religious country because our country is one our country is one of the has the most number of Christian as well as Islam. We have this strong religious belief, even though we are diverse in religions, but we still have this um, strong belief in our God. Next is we have respect to elders. So one of the Filipino traits of being courteous, both in words and in deeds to older people. Yes, which is very true before, but nowadays there's still some, but usually younger generations somehow has left or have a flop side when it comes to this. There are still others who practice respecting to elders, and before the respect for elders is really, really a big thing before. I still remember the last time when um, there are talkings for elders and I joined, and it was like one of forbidden in our culture or again, so being Filipino. So also our respect to elders like practicing manupo or putting the left hand of our elders to our forehead. One of the Filipino values, which is very Filipino and only Filipino practiced. So we are also resourceful. A Filipino trait of being creative and resourceful and the ability to do things that are next to impossible. Example is fixing appliances that look impossible to repair. Yes, we did that. We usually don't go to technician for the first time if some of our appliances were broken. We are trying to be like a technician, and later on, yeah, it works, but some does not. And we are also patient. Filipinos are known for their tenacity and strong determination in every undertaking. So we have this belief that there is more than in waiting, or patience is a virtue. Also, there are reciprocity or utang na loob, a feeling of obligation to repay someone who extends assistance to another, which may take place in undetermined time and in whatever way. We have this being family, uh, we are family oriented person, a Filipino, in which because our parents raised us very good, or because our parents give us this life that we have now, so we have this reciprocity to them that whatever they give to us during our childhood days or the day when we need their support, then we gave them back in when the time is right or we already have something to give to them. Now let's move on to the negative Filipino values. And we have enlisted at least 14 also negative Filipino values. First is bahala na attitude. So it is a Filipino trait which is characterized by retreating or withdrawing from certain undertakings and leaving everything to God to interfere and determine the outcomes of his deeds. So it's very, very true, most especially to students who doesn't study before the examination and they just quoted like bahala na si Batman. So they believe that Batman will help them to answer their exam, where in fact they can do anything or they can pass the examination if they just if they just study weeks before the examination. So never do the bahala na attitude mentality, because that is not true. Only if you are lucky enough to pass the exam, but don't forget that whatever you did to yourself will really come back to you. So if you don't study, it will come back to you. The result will be probably fail. So never do this bahala na attitude. And we have also the colonial complex or blue seal mentality. So a Filipino value of showing high admiration and more preference to foreign produced goods over local ones. So it's very true. Um, I admit I also have this attitude, but usually now I learned that we don't have to be something that we are not. Like we don't have to patronize other foreign countries, but it's not bad of patronizing other products country if our country doesn't have that goods or product. So it's something like it is under negative Filipino values, but I don't see something wrong about it. But something like the brown skin and the white ones, like we really need to be white so that we will be admired or we will look beautiful. Where in fact our skin is beautiful, and something that other Western countries love about our skin, that they go to the beach every time to get their skin tan, and we having this tan skin wants to be white, which somehow like a very complicated scene in our minds. Like others who are having this tan skin want to be white, and to those who are white want to be tan skin. So love your skin, and also be careful with your skin because um, so products that we will use just to change the color of our skin may affect also our skin, and it's better to have your skin than to change it because probably there's a reason why we have that skin. Next also is we have this grab mentality. So a Filipino attitude characterized by an attempt to pull down someone who has achieved success beyond the others. This is done out of jealousy and insecurity. So this is very true because usually this happens all the time, where others don't learn to clap for others' victory. I believe that there will be time for us to be victorious, but we don't have to be jealous or insecure about others' success because they work hard for that. Maybe your effort or you don't work hard to get that something. Don't be jealous for someone to be great, or don't be jealous to be someone who's already successful because they deserve it. They work hard for it. They put so much effort for it. So if you want to have something that you want, then work hard for it. Don't be insecure for others. Just focus on yourself. And also, that is very bad if you do that to others because it's like you're so it's not so very Filipino because we are a helpful being. We help people. So wait for your time and work hard, be patient, and you will have your success. Next is we also have this euphemism. So a Filipino way of substituting a word or phrase that is thought to be offensive or hand with a mild and acceptable one in order not to offend or hurt another person. Like we told someone something great, but actually which is not. So try to be honest. If you don't really like that person, then tell them that you don't like what they wear or you don't like what you see about them, instead of pretending that you like them even though it's not. Next is we have this Filipino time, which is very familiar. Um, like they said that the um, the meeting time will be 12 noon or 1 p.m. Then others will come by 2:30, 3:30, or others will be like 6 p.m. So that is very, very true. Also for submitting examinations, submitting their quizzes, like the professor or the college instructor will tell them to pass it by 1, and they will just say, "Sir, ma'am, may I pass it by 3:30?" Something like that. So don't practice that. Whatever time is being set, you should practice being in time or on time, because you are not only affecting yourself, you are also affecting those people who waited for you for so long time, and their patience or their time is like being wasted for nothing because they just waited for you. Instead of working for something, they waited for nothing for you. uh, Go back, we have also gaya-gaya attitude, a Filipino attitude of imitating or copying other culture. It is pretty the same with colonial complex or blue cell mentality, which like we try to be like Korean, we try to be like Japanese, we try to be Western, something like that. But there's no wrong with being like that. If you love yourself to be like that, then go for it. If you love something that you want to be yourself, then go for it. It's not about forgetting that you are Filipino. It's just you want that style, you want to be like that, and it's the way of showing love for yourself, then go for it. It's not a bad or negative Filipino values. As long as you don't forget that you're Filipino, then go for it. Then we have also the jackpot mentality. So a get rich quick mentality of some Filipinos who would rather engage in fast ways of acquiring money than through hard work and sacrifice by betting in lottery, joining raffle draws, and others, which is very true. We usually play in lotto and we waited for luck or jackpot so that we can help ourselves to raise from poverty or lack of financial aids instead of working in every day, and we can get that. And what if we cannot be really lucky for any lottery or bets? So it could be a waste of time for you. You waste your time, you waste your money for nothing. Next is we also have kapalaran values, which are Filipino trait of accepting events in life by believing that everything is destined by fate. Such trait contributes to lack of initiative and perseverance among Filipinos. Of course, this is true also. Like, for example, something happens to us and we believe that, yeah, that's our fate or that would be our destiny, where in fact, we can switch it. Like, you failed in your examination. Then you said you study. Then you said that probably that will happen or that's my destiny. Then probably you just study, but you don't put effort in it. So don't believe in kapalaran values. Maybe on other side, but usually you yourself control your destiny or your fate. So don't put your life in your fate. I mean, don't just believe that it's your fate, because you have control for your future. And we also have the mañana habit, a Filipino attitude of delaying or setting aside a certain task assigned for the next day, although it can be done today, like procrastination. So it's very true, usually for students who will want to pass their quizzes, their activities, their projects, and instead of doing that for today, they just said that they can do it for tomorrow and again for tomorrow, again and tomorrow, and then there will be no tomorrow, and then the deadline come and a very big problem. Next is we have the Ningas Kugon. So a Filipino attitude of being enthusiastic only during the start of new undertaking, but ends dismally in accomplishing nothing. A common practice observed from some politicians are visible only during the start of certain endeavor. So it is very true. Like we start good, but end up bad. And after that, we don't practice it anymore. We are just good from the start, and then after that, it's very, very not good. Next is we have being oversensitive, which is very true. Filipinos have the tendency to be irritated easily or get hurt upon hearing some criticisms or comments. This is not something about very negative because why would you say something for someone and you hurt them? Like, yes, we are being oversensitive, but it's part of our self. Like, we get hurt easily. Yes, we get hurt easily, but just like what others said, if you accept your flaws, then no one will use that against you. But the problem is, it's just people who have something to say about you, then just yes, accept your flaws, and the things that they will say to you will not affect you already because you will know yourself than anyone else. But being oversensitive is not bad. It's just others just have something to say to you, but don't believe them if you know yourself. Next is we have this pakikisama, a Filipino attitude of submitting oneself to the will of the group for the sake of camaraderie and unity, which is very good. Which, for example, you have your friends and you know that their doings or the things they do is bad. So just because you don't want to be away from them, so you just go with the flow, which is very bad. If you tolerate something over your friendship, which is not good, so it would be a very bad thing. Next is, and the last two, we have lack of sportsmanship. Filipino attitude of not accepting defeats in competitions rather than or rather putting the blame either their opponents or to the sport officials, which is very true, not only for Filipinos, but also in other countries. We have also the chambalang attitude, a Filipino attitude of simplicity by declaring that his or her accomplishments are a result of luck and not from perseverance and ability. We usually have this because people have something to say to us. Like for example, if we get a high score in our examination, then people will say to us like, yeah, you study so much, you study so much. Right? In fact, you can say you can really told them that, yeah, I studied so much, then what's wrong with studying? Instead of saying chamba lang. Now we will talk about the first man in the Philippines. Archaeological findings prove the man in ancient in the Philippines. The front group of migrant came about 25 or 200, oh, it's 2,500,000 BC during the Ice Age or Middle Pleistocene period. Through the land bridges which connected the country with mainland China. The Filipino was a cousin of the Java man, Peking man, and other earliest men in Asia. It is Professor H. Otley Beyer, the founder of the anthropology department of the University of the Philippines, called him the Dawn Man because he arrived at the dawn of time. He is brawny and thickly hairy. Don Man's economic activities included the fishing, hunting, and gathering fruits and vegetables. Anthropologists maintained that they came because of their chasing wild animals. Don Man disappears without leaving any trace. So they are believed that Don Man was the first man in the Philippines. Now we will talk about the Negritos. So Negritos arrived 25,000 to 30,000 years ago through land bridges. The Negritos were small in height. They were below 5 feet in height with black skin, dark kinky hair, brown eyes, and a flat nose. So long before the disappearance of the Dawn Man came the Negritos from Asian mainland. So as stated, they had no fixed houses. Like the Donman, their economic activities were hunting, fishing, and gathering fruits and vegetables. They were skilled in using bow and arrow. They could make fire easily but never cook their food. The Negritos lived permanently and became the first inhabitants of the archipelago. Next is we have the Indonesians. Another Asian people who migrated to the Philippines were the Indonesians. They came into two waves. The first wave came about 3000 BC, while the second wave was about 1000 BC. They arrived in the island using boats. They were the first to reach the land traversing the sea. Those who came under the first wave were all ranging from 5 feet and 6 inches to 6 feet and 2 inches, slender and light in complexion, while those who came under the second waves were shorter and bulkier. The culture of Indonesians was very advanced than the Negritos, for it belonged to the New Stone Age or the Neolithic. They built houses, engaged in agriculture, cooked food using bamboo tubes. Their other occupations were hunting and fishing. Their tools consisted of polished stone axes, adzes, and chisels. They had bows and arrows, spear, shields, and blowgun trumpet as weapons. So they brought bronze and copper to the country. They were responsible for the creation of the rice terraces. And we also have the Malays. So after the Indonesians came the expert navigator called Malays, who came in three waves. The first wave came from 200 BC to 200 to 100 Anno Domini or AD. This group of Malays who came in during this wave were the headhunters, the ancestors of the Bontocs, Ilongots, Kalingas, and other tribes in northern Luzon. The second wave arrived from 100 AD to the 13th century. These groups were the alphabet using Malays, the ancestors of the Visayans and Tagalogs, Ilocanos, Bicolano, Kapampangan, and other Christian Filipinos. The third and a wave came from the 14th to the 16th century AD. They were responsible in introducing Islam in the Philippines. So Malays were medium in height and slender in physique, but were hardy and supple. They had brown complexion with straight black hair, dark brown eyes, and flat noses. Malays were more advanced than the Negritos and Indonesians, for they possessed the Iron Age culture. They introduced both lowland and highland methods of rice cultivation, including the system of irrigation and the domestication of animals, the manufacture of metal tools and weapons, pottery and weaving, and the Malayan heritage, government, law, religion, writing arts, and the science and costumes. They wore dresses of woven fabrics and ornamented themselves with jewels of gold, pearls, beads, glass, and colored stones. Their weapons consisted of bows and arrows, spears, bolos, daggers, braces, swords, sumpits or the blowguns, shields and armors made of animal hide and hard wood, and lantakas or the bronze cannons. So the Malays were like the last people who came here in the our archipelago or in the Philippines, which usually probably one of the Asian that has our or the origin of our race nowadays. Now we will talk about the formation of barangay. So during the 3rd century, the natives were in contact with other Southeast Asian and East Asian nations. The scattered ethnic groups formed barangays under the rule of the Sultanates of Sulu, who were Muslims because of international trade. These fragmented barangays became more culturally homogeneous by the 4th century. The Buddhist and Hindu culture were introduced, including their religion, which flourished among the noblemen. Most of the barangays were under the de jure rule of the Malay Srivijaya and Javanese Mahapahit empires, the Brunei, Malacca, and other kingdoms of Borneo. Each of them, however, has its own independent system of rule. Trade relations with Sumatra, Borneo, Thailand, Java, China, India, Arabia, and Japan flourished during this period. Rule from the beaches or the thalassocracy prevailed, based on international trade. In this period, valuable goods including the jars, which was a symbol of wealth in entire South Asia, salt, metal, and tobacco. The natives would trade feathers, rhino horn, hornbill beaks, beeswax, bird's nest, resin, and rattan. In the period between the 7th century to the beginning of the 1400, many trading centers emerged, including the Kingdom of Namanian, which flourished along Manila, Cebu, Butuan, Pangasinan, Pampanga, and Apare. So that's how our barangay established. Now we will talk about the growth of Islamic sultanates. So Tuan Mashaka, an Arab, founded the first Muslim community in Sulu. He married a native and raised his children as Muslims. In 1380, an Arab known as Karim Makdum, with regional name Sharif Auliya, converted a huge number of natives to Islam. He also established the first mosque in the Philippines at Tubig Indangan or Simunul Island. He is said to have married a certain native and begot a daughter whom they called Paramisuli, a name reserved to the royal family. Sharif Auliya did not stay long in the island. He left his wife and daughter. In 1390, Raha Baginda arrived in the country and continued the works of Sharif Auliya. By this time, a flourishing community of Muslims evolved, and by the middle of the incoming century, the first Sulu Sultanate was founded. Syed Abu Bakr, an Arab from South Arabia, was crowned as the first Sultan. He used the regnal name Sharif Hashim. He was said to be a direct descendant of Prophet Muhammad. In 1515, Sharif Muhammad Kabungsuan landed in Lanao del Sur and introduced Islamic faith. Then he went to Cotabato. Marriage between natives and Muslims paved the way for the existence of Maguindanao and Buayan Sultanate from then on. The Islam Sultanate expanded. So this is how the growth of Islamic Sultanate started on our archipelago. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned something from our module this week. And please read the lecture notes that I included together with this video presentation so that you will know more, or you will have a visual aids or a reading aid so that you can study further for this module. So once again, have a nice day and keep safe. See you next week. And also, if you have question, don't hesitate to send me a message on the messenger.